I never expected my best friend to try to ruin my marriage. But that's exactly what she did, and the worst part is I still don't fully know why. One conversation at the gym changed everything, and it started with a lie so stupid I almost laughed before I felt sick. Let me go back. I'm 29, my husband is 31, and we have a 2-year-old. We've been married for 4 years, together for 6. I met him when I was 11, right after my family moved to a new country. My sister-in-law introduced me to a girl named Sarah, also 11, and we became best friends almost overnight. She was my anchor in a strange place. We went through school together, shared secrets, had sleepovers. Over the years we stayed close even as adults. We have overlapping friend groups but also separate circles. It was a normal, healthy friendship, or so I thought. I work in an office from 9 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon. My husband's office is a 5-minute walk from mine, so on my half-hour break I often walk over to see him or grab a coffee at a cafe nearby. Now and then I have to travel to another city for work. I usually mention those trips to Sarah when we're chatting. Nothing secret, I text her like, hey, I'll be out of town Wednesday, let's do brunch Thursday instead. Normal friend stuff. Last week I had a work trip scheduled for Wednesday. But Tuesday night a red alert weather warning popped up. Flooding expected. The trip got canceled. I stayed home Wednesday with my son. My husband left at 6 in the morning to secure his business and set up flood barriers. He was back by 7:30, made breakfast, and we spent the whole day in the house together. It didn't even start raining until 1 in the afternoon. The whole day was uneventful. We watched cartoons, played with blocks, ate lunch. Around 3, Sarah texted me, are you home already? It's flooding where you were supposed to travel. I texted back, home safe. We didn't leave the house until Friday. Saturday morning, Sarah and I have the same gym class, 10 o'clock, the early session. After class, she grabbed my arm and said we needed to talk in private. I thought maybe she wanted to vent about her boyfriend or something. We went to my car, sat in the front seats. The AC was still blowing from the drive over. She looked serious. I'd upset, kind of excited, which I didn't catch at the time. She said, I need to tell you something. On Wednesday I saw your husband with a woman. They were making out and your kid was in the car. I froze. My brain just stopped. I felt my face go cold. Then a second later the fog lifted and I remembered Wednesday I was home with my husband, with my son. I hadn't gone anywhere. There was no way. I asked her 3 times. Are you sure it was this Wednesday? She said yes 3 times. What time? Around 11 in the morning. Was it during the red alert? Yes. Are you absolutely 100% sure? She leaned in, lowered her voice, and gave me a whole description. She said my husband was parked somewhere, leaning against a car, kissing a blonde woman. She said the woman looked like a Barbie doll. She said my son was in the back seat, strapped in, just staring out the window. She said it made her sick. I didn't scream. I didn't even raise my voice. I just said that's impossible. I was home with him that whole day. He came back at 7:30 and we never left. We were together until bedtime. Her face changed. She went pale. You were. I must have made a mistake. Maybe it was a different day. You said it was Wednesday, the red alert. 11 a.m. I could have the days mixed up, she said, but she didn't sound convincing. Her voice was thin. I told her I had to go. I drove home on autopilot. My husband was in the kitchen making lunch. I told him everything. He went from calm to furious in about 2 seconds. He wanted to call her right then, confront her. I said no, let me handle it. I needed to think. I texted Sarah later that afternoon. You need to explain why you lied. I was home. We were together. There was no woman. She sent back a paragraph, then another. She said she was under a lot of stress. She said she might have seen someone who looked like my husband. She said she was just trying to protect me. She said she was sorry. It sounded rehearsed. Over the next few days, I asked a few mutual friends if they knew anything. Some of them took her side, said maybe she really did see someone who looked like him, but I knew. She picked that day on purpose. She knew I was supposed to be traveling. She wanted to plant doubt. She wanted to break us. The truth came out a couple weeks later. I ran into an old friend of hers, someone who didn't like Sarah anymore. She told me Sarah had been jealous of my marriage for a long time. She wanted me to be single. She thought if I became a single mom, I'd have more free time to hang out, to travel, to be her best friend again the way we were when we were kids. She thought that would make me need her more. I was disgusted. I cut her off completely. Blocked her number, stopped going to the gym at that time. My husband still gets angry when her name comes up. Our marriage survived, but it took a hit. I trust people less now. I look at friends differently. That single lie almost cost me everything. But it also showed me who I could really count on. That lie almost broke us. But looking back, I realize it was just the first domino in a chain of betrayals I never saw coming. When you grow up thinking certain people are your rocks, you don't brace for them to become the ones swinging the hammer. My name is not important, but I'm 25 now, and my whole family history reads like a tragedy I'm still trying to escape. When I was 4, my dad married a woman who had a 3-year-old daughter. My stepsister and I grew up together, shared a bedroom, fought over toys, made up before dinner. We were close, really close. I loved her like a real sister. Then she got cancer at 14. For 2 years, everything revolved around her. My parents became obsessed with protecting her. They asked me to quit my extracurriculars, so I dropped volleyball even though it was the only thing I loved. I got a job at 16 to help with her medical bills. I drove her to appointments, missed school dances, canceled plans with friends. If I wanted to do something fun, she had to come too. I did almost all of it willingly. The one time I threw a tantrum over quitting volleyball, I got punished hard, but I thought that was just part of being a good sister. I thought that's what family does. She recovered, she's healthy now, and I don't regret a single sacrifice, but I do regret trusting her. I went to college, met a guy named Ben when I was a junior. We fell in love, the whole cliché. Graduated, moved in together, we were serious. 3 years of living together, talking about marriage, planning a future. Then one day in July, I came home early from work. I walked into our bedroom and saw him on the bed with my sister. I didn't scream, I didn't cry, I just stood there for what felt like a full minute while they scrambled. Ben fell off the bed, my sister pulled the sheet over herself, I turned around, walked out, sat in my car and called my dad. He said, "Are you sure you saw what you think you saw?" I said yes. He said, "Well, we'll talk about this later." That was it. I broke up with Ben that night. He moved out within a week. My sister apologized at first, crying, saying it was a mistake, she was drunk, she didn't know what she was doing. I needed space, so I told her not to contact me. She said okay. But a few weeks later, she called and asked to meet for coffee. She said she wanted to apologize in person. I agreed. I thought maybe we could start rebuilding. We met at a restaurant near my apartment. I ordered a coffee. She sat down, looked at me with tears in her eyes and said, "Ben and I are in love. We've been seeing each other since before you caught us. We're telling you as a courtesy before we post anything on social media." I stood up, walked out and left her with the bill. She Venmo'd me later asking for her share. Ignored it, then she told my parents. My dad called me to their house. He sat me down in the living room with my stepmom and my sister. He said, "We're very disappointed in you. You're not supporting your sister's relationship. She went through so much with her cancer. You need to be the bigger person." I said, "She fucked my boyfriend in my bed." My stepmom said, "That's in the past. They love each other." I asked them, "Would you feel the same if it was your own blood sister?" They said yes, they would. But I knew they were lying. My dad told me I needed to come to a family dinner the next weekend, meet Ben again as my sister's boyfriend. I refused. He said, "If you don't come, don't bother coming around at all." I didn't go to the dinner. For the next year, my parents ignored my calls. My sister posted pictures of her and Ben on vacation together at family barbecues at Christmas. I saw them on Instagram through mutual friends. They looked happy. My dad called me once to say, "Your sister is getting married. You're invited, but only if you act like you're happy for her." I said no. I went to therapy. I started dating someone new, a guy named Matt. He's calm, patient, doesn't pressure me. We moved in together a few months ago. I've been slowly cutting off the rest of my family. My dad stood me up once when I agreed to meet him for lunch. He said he wanted to talk, but then he texted at the last minute saying he couldn't make it because my sister needed him. That was the last time I tried. I don't know how the story ends yet. My sister and Ben got married last spring. I wasn't there. I heard from a cousin that Ben is already cheating on her. But that doesn't make me feel better. It just makes me sad for everyone involved. The weirdest part is I still love my sister, not the version of her now. The version that was 12 years old, sitting on my bed crying because she was scared of chemo. The one I drove to appointments, the one I gave up volleyball for. That girl is gone, but I still mourn her. I don't know if I'll ever speak to my parents again. I don't know if I want to. Some betrayals are too big. And some phone calls change everything. And speaking of phone calls changing everything, I thought my story was bad. Then I read about a father whose 16-year-old son got accused of getting his girlfriend pregnant. That story shook me because it wasn't just about a pregnancy. It was about a family that stopped trusting each other over one lie, one assumption, one refusal to believe. My name is Mark or whatever. I'm a 42-year-old father of two. My son just turned 16. He's a good kid, smart, but he's also a teenager, moody, secretive, does stupid stuff. A few months ago, he had a girlfriend, a girl named Emily. She was almost 17. They dated for about 6 months, then broke up. Standard high school drama. We didn't think much of it. Then 3 weeks later, her parents called us. She was pregnant, slightly showing. The dates lined up with when my son and Emily were together. My wife and I panicked. We sat our son down. He didn't know about the pregnancy. When we told him, he looked stunned for a second. Then he said, "It's not mine. I never fucked her." I didn't believe him at first. I knew he was active. He'd asked me for condoms before and I'd bought them, but he insisted. He said they never had sex. He said he cheated on her but not with another girl. He wouldn't explain further. My wife was furious at him. She accused him of lying. She said he was just trying to get out of responsibility. We had a meeting with Emily's parents. My wife started talking about paternity tests, child support options. My son spoke up again, angry, almost shouting, "It's not my baby, we never had sex, I swear." Then he made a comment that I'm not proud to repeat. He said they only ever did a certain act that can't lead to pregnancy and it was so bad he never wanted to go further with her. I was disgusted. I yelled at him. I told him he was being a disrespectful little shit. Emily admitted they rarely did anything, but she described one specific time and place. It sounded believable. The dates matched. My wife said I was enabling him. She said I was part of boy culture, letting him get away with anything. She said he needed to step up. But something in my gut told me my son was telling the truth. I'd seen him lie before. This was different. He was terrified, but not guilty. I told my wife we needed to wait for a paternity test. She refused. She said it would humiliate Emily. She said we should just accept the situation. That night I had a long talk with my son alone. He broke down crying. He told me the truth. He had been secretly dating a boy from his soccer team. That's why he broke up with Emily. He never had sex with her. He was terrified to tell us because he thought we'd hate him. I didn't know what to say. I hugged him. I told him I loved him no matter what. The paternity test came back negative. The baby wasn't his. Emily later admitted she had been with another guy after the breakup. My wife was mortified. She apologized to our son. He didn't accept it right away. Our marriage took a hit. My wife and I went to counseling. I still get angry thinking about how she refused to believe her own son, but we're working on it. That phone call from Emily's parents changed everything, but not in the way anyone expected. It forced our family to face a truth we weren't ready for. My son came out to us, and I'm proud of him. I just wish it didn't take a pregnancy lie to get there. But sometimes the lies don't come from strangers. They come from the people you trust the most. The ones who know your breakfast order, your husband's schedule, your kids' nap time, the ones you've known since you were 11 years old. My name is Alicia and my best friend tried to destroy my marriage. I still don't fully understand why. I met Sarah when I was 11. My family had just moved to the country from overseas and I was the weird girl with the wrong accent and the wrong clothes. My sister-in-law introduced us. Sarah was the first friend I made here. We did everything together, sleepovers, school projects, summer camps. When we grew up, we stayed close. She was my maid of honor at my wedding. She was the first person I called when I found out I was pregnant. That's the level of trust we had. But as adults, we had different lives. I worked in an office from 9 to 2 with a half-hour break around 11. I usually used that break to grab a second breakfast at the cafe down the street or walk the 5 minutes to my husband's office to say hi. He ran his own business, something to do with construction supplies. We had a 2-year-old son. Life was busy but good. Sarah knew my routine. She knew I sometimes traveled for work to another city about an hour away. I'd mention it in passing. Oh, I've got a site visit Wednesday, gotta get up early. She always seemed interested. Then came that Tuesday in November. There was a red weather alert, heavy flooding predicted. My work trip to the other city was canceled Tuesday night, so I stayed home Wednesday with our son. My husband got up at 6 in the morning, drove to his business to make sure everything was locked up and sandbagged, and was back home by 7:30 making pancakes. It didn't even start raining until 1 in the afternoon. We spent the whole day inside, played with blocks, watched cartoons, took a nap. My husband never left the house. At 3 in the afternoon, Sarah texted me, "Are you home already? It's flooding where you were supposed to travel." I texted back, "Home safe, never left." We didn't go out until Friday. Saturday morning, we went to our usual gym class, same class we've been going to for years. After class, Sarah looked serious. She grabbed my arm and said, "We need to talk in private." I thought she was going to tell me she had cancer or something. My stomach dropped. We sat in my car in the parking lot. The windows were fogged up from our sweaty gym clothes. She looked at me with this awful pity in her eyes and said, "On Wednesday, I saw your husband with a woman. They were making out and your kid was in the car." I felt like the world tilted. I couldn't breathe for a second, then my brain caught up. Wednesday, I was home with my husband all day. He made pancakes. He played with our son. He never left. I asked her, "Are you sure it was this Wednesday?" She said yes. "What time?" "About 11 in the morning. During the red weather alert?" "Yes." "You're absolutely positive?" She nodded and then launched into this graphic description. She said my husband was kissing a blonde woman in the front seat of his truck, a Barbie look-alike. She said the baby was in the back. She said they were really going at it. I stared at her. I said, "Sarah, I was home with him all day Wednesday. He never left the house. I didn't travel. The trip was canceled." Her face changed. It went from smug pity to this blank stare. She didn't say anything for a few seconds. Then she said, "Maybe I got the day wrong. Maybe it was another day." "No," I said. "You said Wednesday 3 times. You described it in detail. You told me he was cheating on me with a blonde in front of my son, and you're lying." She started crying. She said she must have been confused that she saw someone who looked like him. I asked her again if she was sure. She said, "I don't know anymore." I drove home shaking. I told my husband everything. He was furious, not at me, at her. He said, "Why would she do that? She's your best friend." I didn't have an answer. Over the next few days, I tried to get the truth out of her. I called, I texted, she avoided me. Finally, she sent a long message saying she misinterpreted something and that she was sorry. But it didn't make sense. You don't misinterpret a full description of a kiss. You don't accidentally fabricate a cheating story about your best friend's husband. I stopped talking to her. I told our mutual friends what happened. Some believed me. Some thought I was overreacting. A few said maybe I was the one who misremembered. But I knew what I knew. I was home. He was home. She lied. It's been 6 months. I still don't know why she did it. She never apologized properly. She never explained. My husband and I are fine, stronger actually, because we went through it together. But I lost my best friend. And the worst part is I still miss her sometimes. The version of her that didn't try to destroy my marriage. I think about that phone call, the text, actually at 3 in the afternoon. "Are you home safe?" That was the moment she planted the seed. She wanted me to think I'd been somewhere else. She wanted me to doubt my own memory. But I didn't doubt, I knew, and that's what saved my marriage. Not trust, not faith, just a canceled work trip and a red weather alert. But sometimes the lies don't come from strangers. They come from the people you grew up with. The ones who shared your bedroom, your childhood, your family's hardship. The ones who you sacrificed for. My name is Maya and my stepsister tried to steal my life. I still don't know if she ever really loved me or if I was just a stepping stone. I was 4 when my dad married her mom. She was 3. We grew up as sisters. Same house, same rules, same everything. We were close. I mean, we fought over toys and TV shows, but we were close. I thought we'd be best friends forever. Then she got cancer when she was 14. I was 15. It was the scariest year of my life. She was sick for 2 years. Chemo, hospital stays, losing her hair, throwing up everything. My parents became hyper-focused on her. I don't blame them. I would have done anything to keep her alive. And I did. I quit my after-school volleyball team because I had to get a job. The money went toward her medical bills. I drove her to appointments. I missed school dances. I stopped hanging out with my own friends. Every fun thing I did had to include her. I didn't complain much. I threw one tantrum about quitting volleyball and my parents punished me hard. After that, I kept my mouth shut. She was sick. She survived. She made a full recovery. We both went to college. I met Ben when I was a junior. He was sweet, funny, ambitious. We fell in love. After graduation, we moved in together. We were together for 3 years. I thought we were going to get married. I thought he was the one. Then one day in July, I came home early from work. I opened the bedroom door and saw him. He was on top of my stepsister, naked, on my bed. In my apartment, I stood there for what felt like an hour. They didn't even notice me at first. Then my stepsister looked up and screamed. Ben rolled off her. He started apologizing. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just said, "Get out." "Both of you?" She cried. She apologized. She said it was a mistake. She said she was drunk. She said she was sorry. I told her to leave. Ben packed his stuff and moved out. I was a mess for weeks. I barely ate. I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying that image. My stepsister sent a few texts apologizing. Then she stopped. I thought she was giving me space. I was wrong. 3 weeks later, she called and asked me to meet for coffee. I went. I thought maybe she wanted to truly apologize to make things right. We sat down at a cafe. She looked nervous. Then she said, "Ben and I are in love. We're dating now. We wanted to tell you before we start posting photos online." I didn't say anything. I stood up. I walked out. I didn't pay for my drink. I just left her sitting there. An hour later, I got a Venmo request from her. For my portion of the bill, $7.50. That was the moment I knew she was not my sister anymore. She told my parents. They called me over to their house. My dad sat me down and said, "Maya, we are very disappointed in you. Your sister went through so much. The cancer, the treatments, she deserves happiness. You should support her relationship with Ben." I stared at him. I said, "She fucked my boyfriend in my bed while I was at work and now she's dating him and you want me to support that?" My mom said, "She was going through a hard time. She's been through so much. Ben makes her happy." I walked out. I didn't talk to any of them for months. Then the updates started coming in from mutual friends. Ben and my stepsister broke up. Apparently, Ben told her that she reminded him too much of me. That he couldn't stop thinking about me. She was devastated. She sent me a long email apologizing. She said she knew what she did was wrong. She said she missed me. She said she was in therapy. I didn't reply. My dad reached out. He said he wanted to meet for dinner, just the two of us. I agreed. I thought maybe we could rebuild something. I showed up at the restaurant. I waited for an hour. He never came. He sent an email later that night. He said my stepsister had a breakdown and he had to take care of her. He said he was sorry. He said he'd make it up to me. I wrote back. I told him he had never put me first, not when I quit volleyball, not when I drove her to appointments, not when she stole my boyfriend, not now. I told him I was done waiting. I haven't seen him in 2 years. I'm in therapy now. I'm learning that I don't have to set myself on fire to keep other people warm. I still love my stepsister or the idea of her, but I can't trust her. I can't trust my parents. I built my whole identity around being the good daughter, the supportive sister, and they walked all over me. The worst part, she never even apologized for the Venmo. $7.50, that's what I was worth to her. Some betrayals are so small they cut the deepest, and some stories don't have happy endings. They just have you picking up the pieces and deciding who deserves a place in your life. I chose myself. For the first time, I chose myself. I never thought I'd be the dad defending his son against his own wife, but here we are. My name is Tom, I'm 47, and I've been married to my wife Claire for 20 years. We have 2 kids. Our son Jake just turned 16 and our daughter is 14. Everything was normal until that phone call from the girl's parents. Jake had been dating this girl Emily for about 8 months. She's 16, almost 17. They broke up about a month before we got the call. He said it was mutual, that they just grew apart. I didn't push. He's a good kid, but he's also a teenage boy and I know he's been sexually active. He came to me for condoms. We had that talk. I thought I was being a responsible dad. Then one Tuesday evening my phone rings. It's Emily's dad. He sounds tense. He says, "Tom, we need to talk. Emily is pregnant. She's about 8 weeks along. The timeline matches up with your son." I went numb. Claire was standing right next to me in the kitchen. She saw my face. When I hung up, I told her. She started crying, not angry crying, scared crying. We both panicked. We spent 2 days trying to figure out what to do. We didn't tell Jake right away. I wanted to be sure. On Thursday night, we sat him down in the living room. I said, "Jake, we need to tell you something. Emily is pregnant. Her parents told us. The dates line up with when you two were together." He didn't flinch. He looked me straight in the eye and said, "It's not mine. I never fucked her." Claire snapped. She said, "Don't lie to us. We know you're active. We gave you condoms." Jake's face got red. He said, "I never had sex with her. I cheated on her, yeah, but we never did it. I always wrapped it, I swear." I asked him to explain. He said they only did oral. He said it was boring and he wasn't into it. He said he broke up with her because he felt bad for cheating. I wanted to believe him, but I also knew he was a good liar when he needed to be. Claire didn't believe him for a second. She said, "You're just covering your ass. You got her pregnant and now you're lying." I told her to calm down. She didn't calm down. She said I was part of boy culture and that I was enabling him. That word, boy culture, she used it like a weapon. We had a joint meeting with Emily's family a few days later. We all sat in their living room. Emily was there looking pale and small. Her parents were stiff. Claire started the conversation by saying, "We accept that Jake is the father. We want to help figure out a solution. We're prepared to help with costs with whatever you need." I saw Jake's jaw tighten. He said, "I told you, it's not mine. We never had sex." Emily's mom said, "Jake, honey, we know you're scared, but the dates match up." Jake stood up. He said, "I'm not scared. I'm telling the truth. I never slept with her. I didn't even want to. We only did other stuff and it was boring for me." That's when he made a comment I'm going to rephrase for this story. He basically said the only sexual act they did couldn't result in a baby and that he wasn't satisfied. I saw Emily's face fall. I knew he was being a little shit, but I also knew he was telling the truth about the act. Emily's dad said, "Then why would Emily lie? She has no reason to." Jake said, "Maybe she cheated on me. Maybe it's someone else's." Emily started crying. The meeting ended awkwardly. At home, Claire was furious. She said, "You're making this worse. You're letting him think he can get away with it. What if he's the father? Are you going to let him abandon his child?" I said, "What if he's not? What if we force him into something and it turns out wrong?" She said I was weak. She said I was a bad father. She said I was more concerned with being his friend than being a parent. That hurt. That stung. Over the next 2 weeks, the tension in our house was unbearable. Jake barely spoke to us. Claire cried every night. I tried to be the middle ground, but I was drowning. Then one night, Jake came to my workshop in the garage. He looked wrecked. He said, "Dad, I need to tell you something, and I need you to not tell Mom until I'm ready." I turned off the drill. I sat down. "Okay, son, I'm listening." He took a deep breath. He said, "I never had sex with Emily because I'm not attracted to girls. I'm gay. I've known for a while. I cheated on her with a boy from my school. That's why we broke up. That's why I never wanted to have sex with her. I can't, Dad. I physically can't force myself." I didn't say anything for a long time. I just looked at my son. He was crying. I hugged him. I said, "I love you, Jake. I love you no matter what. Thank you for telling me." He sobbed into my shoulder. I held him until he stopped. Then I said, "So the baby definitely isn't yours?" He said, "No, it's not. She must have been with someone else." I said, "Okay, we'll figure this out, but we need to tell your mother." He said, "I'm not ready. She already thinks I'm a liar. She's going to think I'm just saying this to get out of it." I told him I would handle it. The next morning, I pulled Claire aside. I told her what Jake had said. At first, she didn't believe me. She said, "He's manipulating you. He's making up a story." I said, "Claire, he's our son. He was sobbing in my arms. He's not lying." She said, "Then why didn't he tell us before?" "Because he was scared, because he knew you'd react like this." That made her quiet. She sat down. She put her head in her hands. She said, "I pushed him away. I didn't believe him." I said, "We both made mistakes, but now we know the truth." We decided to push for a DNA test anyway just to have proof for Emily's family. Jake agreed. The test came back negative. Emily's parents called, apologizing. They said Emily finally confessed that the baby was from a boy she met at a summer camp. She was scared and lashed out. Jake came out to the rest of the family. My mother was supportive. Claire's side was more complicated, but they came around. We got Jake into a support group. He's thriving now. He has a boyfriend and he's happy. Claire and I went to marriage counseling. I won't lie, it was hard. She had to face that she didn't trust me, that she didn't trust our son. I had to face that I'd been too passive. We're still working on it, but we're fighting for each other. The whole thing taught me that sometimes the people you love most will surprise you. Not always in good ways, but sometimes if you listen you get the truth. And the truth, no matter how messy, is always better than a lie. I'm not the perfect dad, but I'm trying, and that's all any of us can do. I sat in my car for a long time after Sarah walked away. My hands were shaking. I thought I was overreacting. I mean, she was my best friend since I was 11. We moved to this country when I was a kid and my sister-in-law introduced us. Sarah and I were like sisters. She was at my wedding. She held my hand when I gave birth to my daughter. She was godmother to my little girl. But what she just said, she claimed she saw my husband making out with some blonde Barbie lookalike in his car with our 2-year-old in the back seat on Wednesday during the red alert flooding at 11 in the morning. I knew for a fact that my husband was home with me and our daughter that whole day. The work trip was canceled because of the weather. He went out at 6 to secure his business, came back by 7:30, made breakfast, and we never left the house until Friday. I knew she was lying, but why? Why would she do this? I drove home in a fog. My husband was playing with our daughter on the living room floor. He looked up and saw my face. He said, "What's wrong?" I told him. He went pale, then he got angry. He said, "She's trying to destroy us." Why? I didn't have an answer. I called Sarah that night. She didn't answer. I texted, "We need to talk. I know you were lying. I was home all day Wednesday with my husband and daughter." She replied an hour later, "I'm sorry. Can we meet tomorrow?" I agreed. We met at a coffee shop. She looked nervous. She started crying before I even sat down. She said, "I don't know why I did it. I was jealous. You have this perfect life, perfect husband, perfect kid. I'm still single. I'm lonely. I thought if I could make you doubt him, you'd need me more. You'd spend more time with me. It was stupid." I stared at her. I said, "You tried to ruin my marriage because you were lonely?" She nodded. "I'm so sorry. Please forgive me." I didn't scream. I didn't cry, I just stood up and walked out. I haven't spoken to her since. That was 3 months ago. She's tried reaching out. She sent flowers. She sent a long email. I deleted it without reading. My husband and I are fine. We laugh about it now. But I lost someone I thought I knew. And I learned that some people will burn your house down just to feel warm for a minute. I didn't need a villain in my life. I had enough drama, so I cut her out. No closure, no final conversation, just silence. Because some betrayals don't deserve a scene. That was the first story. But there's another one that still haunts me. It's about my sister and my ex and cancer. And how the people who are supposed to love you will use your guilt as a leash. My name is Rachel. I'm 25 and I've been no contact with my father, my stepmother, and my stepsister for 2 years now. It didn't start that way. We were close once. My dad married my stepsister's mom when I was 4 and she was 3. We grew up as sisters. We shared a room. We fought over clothes. We told each other everything. When she was 14, she was diagnosed with cancer. It was a nightmare. She was sick for 2 years. During that time, my parents became obsessed with protecting her. And I became the designated helper. I quit volleyball, I loved volleyball, and I threw a tantrum about it, but I was punished for being selfish. I got a job at 16 so I could help pay for her medical bills. I drove her to chemo appointments. I gave up dances, school trips, sleepovers, everything revolved around her. I did it willingly, mostly. I loved her. She was my sister. I went to college and met Ben. We fell in love. He was kind, funny, stable. We moved in together after graduation. We talked about marriage. We had a future. Then one day in July, I came home early from work. I walked into our bedroom and saw my sister and Ben in our bed, naked, together. I stood there for what felt like an hour. They saw me. She screamed. He scrambled for the sheets. I walked out. I didn't slam the door. I just left. He moved out that week. I didn't talk to my sister for a month. She texted once, "I'm sorry." I didn't reply. Then she called. She asked to meet for coffee. I agreed because I thought she wanted to apologize properly. We sat down at a cafe. She looked me in the eye and said, "Me and Ben are in love. We're telling you as a courtesy before we post pictures online." I didn't say a word. I stood up and left. She later Venmo'd me for my half of the bill, $7.50 for our last conversation. I ignored it. She told my parents. My father called and demanded I come over. I went. My stepmother was there. My sister was sitting on the couch crying. My father said, "We are very disappointed in you. Your sister has been through so much. Cancer almost killed her. She deserves happiness. You should support her relationship with Ben." I said, "She cheated with my boyfriend in my bed and you want me to be happy for them." My stepmother said, "You could have said something earlier. You had years to marry him. It's not her fault you moved too slow." I looked at my sister. She wouldn't meet my eyes. I said, "I'm done." I walked out. My father called after me. I kept walking. That night, my dad texted, "We want to have a family dinner next week, just us to talk." I didn't reply. He called the day of the dinner to confirm the place. I showed up at the restaurant. I sat alone at the table for 45 minutes. They never came. I called my dad. He said, "Your sister had a panic attack. We decided not to come. You'll have to deal with it." I paid for my water and left. That was the last time I tried. I went no contact after that. I blocked them all. I moved to a new city. I started therapy. I realized that my entire childhood was a transaction. I gave up everything so she could survive. And when I needed loyalty, they offered me guilt. Ben and my sister are still together. I heard they got engaged. I don't care. The only thing that still stings is that 750 Venmo request. She never even apologized. Not once. Not for the betrayal, not for the cancer guilt, not for the dinner. Some people don't deserve your forgiveness. They don't even deserve your anger. They deserve your silence. I've learned that family isn't about blood. It's about who shows up, who believes you, who fights for you even when it's hard. My dad never fought for me. My sister never chose me, so I chose myself. For the first time, I chose myself. That's where I am now, single, healing, building a new life. It's not easy, but it's mine. And nobody gets to use my past as a weapon against me anymore. I thought I knew my son. I'm 45, been married to my wife for 22 years. We have 2 kids. And our oldest is a 16-year-old boy who I always thought was just a typical teenage shithead. He grades on the edge of passing, talks back sometimes, spends too much time on his phone, but he's never been cruel or violent. I thought we had a decent relationship. He even came to me a while back asking for condoms, which was awkward, but I respected him for it. I bought him a box of Trojans and told him to be safe. He said thanks, and that was that. Then the world flipped. About 4 weeks after he broke up with his girlfriend, let's call her Emma, she's 16, almost 17, we got a call from her parents. Emma was pregnant, slightly showing. The dates lined up with when my son and Emma were together. My wife, let's call her Karen, and I went into full panic mode. We spent 2 days pacing the house, arguing about what to do, how to handle it, whether we'd be grandparents at 45. I felt like I was going to puke every time I thought about it. We finally sat our son down in the living room. Karen was crying before she even said a word. I just watched his face. He looked confused at first, then his eyes went wide, and then he said, real flat, "It's not mine." I said, "Son, we know you're active. You asked me for protection." He said, "I never fucked her, Dad." I didn't believe him. I thought he was lying to save his ass. I've heard a million excuses from him over the years, why his homework was late, why his room smelled weird, why he came home past curfew. But this time he didn't look like he was lying. He looked angry. He said, "I always rap. I asked you for restocks, remember? You bought them, I used them, but not with Emma, we never did it. Karen snapped. She said, stop lying, you think this is a game? She's pregnant, you're going to be a father. He stood up and yelled back, I'm telling the truth, I never had sex with her, we did other stuff but not that. I pulled him aside later, I had a heart-to-heart with him in the garage. He told me that he and Emma had messed around, oral stuff he said, but he didn't even like it. He said it was unsatisfactory and he never went further. He admitted he cheated on her with someone else. He wouldn't say who, just that it wasn't a girl. My brain kind of short-circuited, I didn't push. We had the family meeting. Both sets of parents sat in Emma's living room. Emma was there crying, her dad looked like he was ready to swing. My wife started talking immediately about funding and solutions and how we'd support the baby. She had already decided our son was the father. Then my son spoke up. He said, I already told my parents I never had sex with Emma, that baby is not mine. Emma's mom said, then how did she get pregnant? My son said, I don't know, but it wasn't me. Emma finally said something. She said, we did it once. In May, at his house when his parents were out, you were downstairs. He finished inside me. My son's face went red. He said, that never happened, we never even got naked together. Karen turned to me and said, see, he's lying, you're enabling him, you're part of the problem, you're part of the boy culture that thinks they can do anything and get away with it. I felt like I was in a tornado. I didn't know who to believe. My son was a known liar, but his denial was so specific, so emotional that I started to lean his way. I said, we need a paternity test. Emma cried harder. Her dad said, fine. We waited 3 agonizing weeks. During that time, my wife barely talked to me. She slept in the guest room. She said I was failing as a father. My son locked himself in his room. I didn't know what to do. Then the day before the test results, my son asked me to go for a drive. We went to a diner. He ordered a milkshake and then he said, Dad, I have to tell you something and I need you to not freak out. I said, okay. He said, I'm gay. I've known for a while. The person I cheated on Emma with is a boy from school. We use condoms. I promise. That's why I asked you for them. I was never with Emma like that. I sat there with my mouth open. I didn't know what to say. I wasn't upset he was gay. I was just relieved, confused. I said, why didn't you tell me? He said, because Mom always talks about how she wants grandkids the normal way and because I thought you'd be disappointed. I told him I wasn't disappointed. I hugged him. It was the first time in years he let me hug him. The paternity test came back negative, not his baby. Emma later admitted she had been seeing another guy from a different school, a senior. She said she thought my son would be a better provider or something stupid like that. Her parents were mortified. They apologized. We didn't press charges. Karen didn't apologize. She said, you should have told me he was gay. I wouldn't have blamed him. I said, he was scared to tell you because of your comments about grandkids, and you didn't believe him when he told the truth. You chose the ex-girlfriend over your own son. She cried. She said she was trying to protect him from his own lies. I said, he wasn't lying. You just couldn't listen. We're still working on things. It's not fixed. She goes to therapy now. My son is out and proud and dating a nice kid who comes over for dinner sometimes. I'm learning to be a better dad. I'm learning that sometimes the truth comes out sideways, through a confession in a diner, through a negative test result, through a son who trusted me enough to tell me who he really was. I still think about that night in the garage. I almost didn't believe him. I almost sided with my wife and the girl and the whole screaming mob of certainty, but I listened, and it saved my relationship with my son. I guess that's the lesson. Listen, even when it's hard. Even when the person telling you is a scared 16-year-old who knows you bought him condoms for a boyfriend he wasn't ready to name. He trusted me. I'm grateful for that every day. I never thought a single text message could unravel my entire marriage, but that's exactly what happened. And it came from my best friend, someone I'd known since I was 11 years old when my family moved to a new country and I didn't know a soul. Her name was Sarah. She was my anchor through every awkward phase, every heartbreak, every milestone. She was at my wedding. She held my baby when he was 2 hours old. She was supposed to be my person. It started with a weather alert. I work in an office from 9 to 2 and sometimes I travel to other cities for work. Last week I had a trip planned for Wednesday. But Tuesday night a red alert hit, flooding warnings, the whole thing. My work canceled the trip, so I stayed home with my 2-year-old. My husband left at 6 in the morning to make sure his business was secure, put up flood barriers, and by 7:30 he was back making pancakes. It didn't even start raining until 1 in the afternoon. We spent the whole day inside, painting, playing hide-and-seek, napping. It was perfect. At 3, Sarah texted me, "Are you home already?" "It's flooding where you were supposed to be." I replied, "Home safe," and didn't think anything else of it. We didn't leave the house until Friday. Saturday morning, Sarah and I have the same gym class. She seemed off the whole time, distracted, quiet. After class, she grabbed my arm and said, "We need to talk privately." I thought maybe she was having marital problems or something. We went out to my car and she sat in the passenger seat, her hands shaking. She looked at me with this intense, pitying expression and said, "I have to tell you something. I saw your husband on Wednesday with a woman. They were making out in his car and your kid was in the back seat." I froze. My entire body went cold, but then my brain started working. I remembered Wednesday. I was home all day. My husband was home all day. We made pancakes. We watched cartoons. I said, "Are you sure it was Wednesday, this Wednesday?" She nodded, her eyes all wide and earnest. "Yes." Around 11 in the morning, during the red alert, I saw them at the gas station near your house. He was kissing a gorgeous blonde, Barbie-looking. I'm so sorry. I asked her 3 times. She confirmed 3 times. Then I leaned back in my seat and started laughing. Not a happy laugh, a disbelieving, hollow laugh. I said, Sarah, I was home on Wednesday. My husband was home. We were together the whole day. The baby was with us. We never left the house. Her face went pale. She started stammering. Well, maybe it was Thursday, I said. Thursday we went grocery shopping together as a family. She said, okay, well, maybe I got the day wrong, but I saw him, I swear. I just stared at her. This woman was my best friend. She had keys to my house. She watched my son, she knew everything about me, and she was trying to destroy my marriage with a lie so stupid it fell apart in 30 seconds. I drove home in a daze. I told my husband everything. He was furious, but not at me. He said, why would she do this? She has nothing to gain. And that's the part I still don't understand. She wasn't jealous of my life. She had a good job, a boyfriend, her own apartment. She wasn't in love with my husband. She had never even hinted at it. But then I started thinking back, little things. She had been weirdly invested in my marriage lately. Asking prying questions about our finances, about whether we were happy, about how often we had sex. I thought she was just being a concerned friend. Now I wonder if she was looking for weak spots. I didn't confront her immediately. I needed proof. I pulled up my phone logs. I had texted her from home on Wednesday at 9:47 a.m. about a recipe. I had a picture of my son eating a pancake from that morning, timestamp 10:12 a.m. I had a video of my husband playing guitar and the baby dancing, posted to my private story at 11:03 a.m. I had receipts. And I had the weather report showing the red alert was in effect all day. I texted Sarah that night. I said, I need you to be honest with me. Why did you lie? She replied, I'm not lying. I saw what I saw. Maybe you're the one who's lying to yourself. I didn't respond. Instead, I called a mutual friend, Lisa, and told her everything. Lisa went quiet for a long time. Then she said, I'm not surprised. Sarah has been saying stuff about your husband for months. She told me he flirts with you in public too much, that he's controlling, that you're too dependent on him. Thought she was just looking out for you. I felt sick. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This was a campaign. I decided to confront her in person. I went to her apartment the next day. She opened the door looking nervous. I didn't scream. I just said, I have timestamped videos and texts proving I was home with my husband all of Wednesday. The weather report confirms no one was on the roads during the red alert, so I'm going to ask you one more time. Why did you lie? She started crying. Ugly crying, she said, I don't know, I was jealous. You have this perfect life. Perfect husband, perfect kid, perfect house. I thought if I could make you doubt him, you'd need me more. I'd be the one you leaned on. I wanted to be your number one again. I couldn't even process it. She was willing to destroy my marriage just to be my favorite person. I said, we're done, don't contact me again. She begged, she apologized. She said she'd go to therapy. I didn't care, I blocked her on everything. That was 2 months ago. My husband and I still talk about it sometimes. He's furious, but he also feels betrayed. She was like a sister to him too. Kid keeps asking where Auntie Sarah went, and I just say she had to move far away. The truth is too ugly to explain to a 2-year-old. Some people think I overreacted. They say it was just one stupid lie, she was jealous, she's your best friend. But it wasn't just one lie, it was a calculated attempt to make me distrust the man I love. If I had believed her, even for a second, it could have planted a seed, it could have ruined us. And for what? So she could be my number one. I don't need friends who try to burn down my house to feel warm. I've learned something from this. Not everyone who calls you their best friend actually wants the best for you. Some people love you the way a child loves a toy. They want to own you, control you, keep you broken so you never leave. Sarah didn't want me to be happy. She wanted me to be hers. I'll never forgive her. I don't care if she gets therapy or becomes a saint. The trust is gone, and I'm okay with that. I have my husband. I have my son. I have a few real friends who would never, ever lie to me. That's enough. My husband and I are stronger now. We talk more. We laugh more. We know that even the people you trust the most can stab you in the back. But we also know that together we can survive anything, even a best friend who thought she could tear us apart. I still check my rearview mirror sometimes when I drive. Not because I think someone's following me, but because I want to see the road behind me. I want to remember where I came from because I never want to end up there again.